Miami Dolphins. The pressure, he's in trouble. Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jaelan for Dolphin touchdown. Throwing deep upfield on the near side. That open touchdown. Looking deep, he's got it there. Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's got it for the touchdown. He's in. Touchdown! Tagovailoa trying to make up for it. Fire to the end zone. Touchdown! Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. 1, 2, 3, 3. Let's go! What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We are back here for another one on this Tuesday, June 13. The best number there is, my lucky number, the number of the GOAT. Someone actually mentioned, hey, you know, I noticed Reason, his nose is itchy a lot. You know why my nose is itchy? I'll tell you why my nose is itchy. Your boy got to do the trim job. Your boy hasn't cleaned up the stash, man. You know, hey, it's a full-time job. So, anyways, beyond that, man, when they get it going up and they tickle you, whoo. Beyond that, listen, we got a little bit to talk about again. Surprise, surprise. More about Dalvin Cook. You know, this is going to drag out. We can already get that sense. We got some Christian Wilkins to talk about. And, oh boy, listen. The Buffalo Bills. All right, we're going to get into this. We are going to get into this because, listen. Now, did I say they were going to implode and blow up? No. But I have been saying I expected them to regress, right? I expected with the loss of Leslie Frazier, right? And losing Tremaine Edmonds, because, you know, Poyer and Tremaine Edmonds were the heart and soul. So they lost one of the two. Pick the heart or the soul. They lost one of those to those defense. I expected regression, right? You know, I expected a little regression, you know? Now, today, listen, we already knew trouble was afoot with Stephon Diggs. He was pissed off that he was pissed off that they keep losing, but obviously he didn't look at what franchise he re-upped with, right? Money talks, bullshit walks, when he decided to sign a 4-year, $96 million contract? Let me get correct here. Yeah, 4-year, $96 million contract, 47.985 guaranteed. I mean, when that was put in front of him, you know, all of a sudden his troubles went away with, you know, because he's been disappointed the last couple off seasons of them losing. And I mean, I didn't know. Did he not know he was joining one of the biggest loser franchises in all of sports? Did he not know this? I mean, what does Bill stand for? Say it in the chat. I want someone to say it in the chat before I say what Bill stands for. What does Bill stand for? Put it in the chat. Come on, baby. Been around since I was a kid, this one. What does it stand for? Let me know in the chat. First one in the chat, you will go up. All right? First one in the chat will go up on the screen right now. All right? Let me see. Let me see who's the exact. We got, you know, Adrian was going down the right path, but way too eager. So Dolphin Don, because your spelling was all over. So Adrian, you almost got it in, but the spelling, whoo. Dolphin Don, we'll give him the, you know, he got the spelling correct first. Boy, I love losing Super Bowl. Did he not realize this? Did he not realize that this was not in the tarot cards, that this was not in his future? He wasn't going to win crap Bo Diddley when he went there. All right? And yeah, Hog Wild, you did get second. Gary Skelton was third. Adrian would have had all y'all beat, but the spelling. So, I don't understand what the Diggs surprise is, but I got some things pulled up here. So, because there's probably fans watching. I know there are people on Twitter. Are you speculating any reason? People clearly might be wondering what's going on right now. Okay, so here, let me catch you up as to why we're talking about this right now, so you know what the deal is. Because there's people who might not know what's going on, right? There's people who might not know what's going on. So let's bring it up. Let's show all y'all. I got a couple things to show y'all. Number one, at 11:54 a.m., Sean McDermott told reporters today that he's very concerned that Stephon Diggs is not at Buffalo's mandatory minicamp. All right, so that was, everyone, what's going on? What's going on? But then it got even weirder, because then, an hour later, Adam Schefter tweets out Stephon Diggs' agent, Adisa Bakari, said his client is in Buffalo, has been in Buffalo since yesterday morning, took his physical, met with the head coach and GM the past 2 days, and the Pro Bowl wide receiver will be there for the entirety of minicamp. So I don't know what's going on here right now. You got McDermott saying it's very concerning he's not there. You got his agent saying, what are we talking about? He's had a meeting with him. He's had a meeting with the GM. He's taken his physical. What's going on, right? Then it gets even further. Let's keep going. Then at 3:30, Josh Allen says Stephon Diggs and the Bills are, quote-unquote, working through some non-football related things as Diggs is absent from the start of Bills' mandatory minicamp. Excuse my whatever. I effing love him. He's a brother of mine. Well, you should love him because, while people were calling me a secret Bills fan in the chat when you guys acquired him, I was telling everyone who would listen and their mother he was going to make you better, and he did so, Josh, so you should love him. Same way Tua should love Tyreek, and Jaelan Waddle should love Tyreek because he made them better players. Right? Okay, and then here's where it gets really weird, though. Like, this is where it takes a little bit of a weird turn for me. Because this is what, okay, we've established it's non-related football things. All right? We've established that. By the way, shout out to 1017 Man for the donation. Appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for the donation. Okay, so this is where things get really weird for me, all right? This is where... Okay, so before that, all right? Before the Josh Allen stuff comes out, not long before, at a presser, Stephon Diggs is out here saying, I'm on Steph's side. There wouldn't be a Von Miller here in Buffalo without a Stephon Diggs. On Steph's side... So do we have you got Josh Allen going to bat for him. Now you got this man saying, I'm on his side. What's happening? Someone let me know what is happening in Buffalo right now. We have established it's non-football related. But we also have established now players are picking sides. Including it looks like the franchise quarterback and Von Miller. We got players picking sides right now. So, it's non-football related, but it's to the point where players are picking sides. Someone explain this one to me. This isn't a good thing heading into a... Listen, I told y'all. This smells of implosion from the inside. Non-football related things. I know someone in the chat says, Christian said, is it a Sean ego thing? Would McDermott's ego, wouldn't that be football related? Wouldn't that have to come now? Was Stephon Diggs at the bar and with his side piece and McDermott slid in and stole the side piece and that's a non-football thing? I don't know. But non-football things gotta make me think that goes as far as philosophically with coaches as well, no? And if you are if the player is saying it's McDermott's ego, wouldn't that be based off football? I'm not saying you're wrong or right. I'm just speculating, playing devil's advocate. Did I see what Stephon Diggs' trainer said? Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't his trainer said that it's in like his best interest to go to report to camp or something of that effect? I saw it on Twitter. And I scrolled by it. I didn't really think very much of it. But it was something to the effect of going to minicamp and such. So, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I'm looking it up right now. Because of the level of frustration and not knowing, I think it'd be good that he's there at minicamp and they open up a conversation on what the plan is. I don't know that he's upset with the coaches. I mean, there's here, we'll add more. Here's more layers. Okay, this is what his agent said. All right, I don't know that he's upset with the coaches. I mean, there's a lot of frustration that goes with losing a game in the postseason. We knew this. Flowers said what would be best is to have Diggs speak with McDermott and Brandon Beane, which it sounds like from his agent he did. Diggs is focused on winning a Super Bowl and feels the organization took a step back last year, per Flowers. Because of the level of frustration and not knowing, I think it'd be good that he's there and they open up a conversation on what the plan is. What did you guys find after evaluating last season to figure out what we need to do? So that is football related. You know? You got Josh Allen saying it's not football related. You got his trainer indicating he's still frustrated over the loss. And I would agree with him. I've been sitting here saying I think they regressed between the loss of Leslie Frazier and Tremaine Edmonds. So I would actually agree with him. So I don't think that's wrong. You know? And now Diggs is a year and a bit into his extension. He was mad the first time they lost 2 years ago. He was mad again this time they lost. And now he's 2 years into his extension. So he's not happy they didn't get better. Right? I know they've been trying to sniff around the D-Hop market. Right? They're giving the reins to James Cook. I mean, what is it? We get into this, though, right? You know? So, I mean, you know, and then I've even heard rumors about he's not a fan of, Ken Dorsey and Dorsey's play calling. Now, those are rumors. I don't know if that's true. They've been interested in D-Hop. You'd think that would be to get the team better. This sounds like, Now, listen, I know that came down to some Kirk Cousins stuff, but this comes down to, like, is this going the same way? Is this going to end up the same way his tenure? He's signed. He's locked in. That contract's hard to trade. He's signed and he's locked in. Is this going to go the same way the Vikings? And next season, he's not even going to be. This season, he's going to have to play it out. But next season, could he be a Buffalo? Could he be on another team? Because, you can. You don't really save money on him unless you do a post-June trade or a post-June cut next year. Even still, they're eating dead money over 4 years, but they're saving about $19 million if they cut him next year post-June 1st, or if they trade him post-June 1st, they save it. It's got to be designated as a post-June 1st. They save 19, but they eat 8.8. So, this is hilarious to me. This is funny to me, man. So Ken Dorsey, I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff going on right now. That situation, are they imploding from the inside? You gotta love it. You gotta love it. Adrian says we can offer Cedric Wilson Jr. to them. Yeah, that'll help the situation. There you go. So, hey, all I know is we are trending this way and they are trending that way. Let's go, baby. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm sure the Jets fans are watching this like Birdman hand rub too. Because I thought they would be competing for, number 2 behind us. I believe that even more now. But if I was the Jets, man, I know the Jets, they what did they sign? They signed Adrian Amos today and defense. So it was like $4 or $5 million. So they added Adrian Amos. Maybe, hey, if I was them, I'd swoop in for that D-Hop right now because those Bills are right for the picking right now. The vultures are circling. I love it. They are an injury away to an important player on offense from being really screwed. So we'll see how that rolls out. We'll see how that rolls out. Now, before we get into it too, I know we're going to talk about Dalvin Cook here a little bit more. But I think what you're seeing right now is, again, we saw it with the Vikings. We saw it with the Dolphins. In terms of, I told you they were trying to trade for them despite other people trying to call fans in our fan base idiots for saying we're trying to trade for them. And I know people were regurgitating what I was saying, and we were all deemed correct by Barry Jackson when he confirmed that. We saw the posturing going on between the Vikings and the Dolphins, right? Vikings wanted more than what the Dolphins were willing to give up. Dolphins knew where his desire was, where his heart was, if it was going to be a trade. They were playing ball their way. Now it seems we are getting into posturing about money. We're going to get into what Dalvin Cook said today, but, Dalvin Cook talked about wanting to be home and wanted to play for someone. He wants to play for a team where it feels like home. He was sending a lot of read between the lines verbiage today, and I think right now you're getting in the posturing. He wants to come here, and it's what we talked about on the show yesterday. And what I talked about on the Patreon Only 3 Takes video that dropped Friday night and Saturday morning. The market is not in his favor right now. Zeke's out there. Leonard Fournette is out there. Right? Kareem Hunt's out there. James Robinson just got released. We talked about it yesterday. Now we talked about Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs trying to posture. Is that going to help the situation? That might not help the situation. I think Saquon Barkley is more likely to get paid out of the two of them because homegrown, and we know Josh McDaniels, they wanted to move off Josh Jacobs last year. But, one of those two guys could hit the market because either the Raiders or the Giants or both could say, we're not paying you for it. Saquon Barkley already turned down $14 million a year. And they're both saying we're taking a stand for the market. Those teams could turn around and say, see ya. Zeke Elliott, the Vegas Raiders could say, oh, Zeke Elliott's willing to come in here and play for less than half of what you're asking for, Josh. See ya, we can make that work. Who knows? I'm not saying that's right. They could say Kareem Hunt is willing to play for less than half of what you're asking for, Saquon or Josh. See ya. We can rescind our franchise tag. You haven't signed it yet. Because remember, neither one have signed the franchise tags, so they can be rescinded. So those guys could hit the market. We could be in a position where Dalvin waiting out is going to hurt his money. We'll get into the clip today. Remember, one of the highest paid market running backs on the market this offseason, the highest actually, wasn't it Miles Sanders at like $6 million a year? It's not working out. And if one of those two hit the market, that dilutes it even further. And it'll all of a sudden, Josh Jacobs or Saquon Barkley will be recency bias, will make them the apple of people's eye. They will be looking for a high cost, and that'll dilute it even further and not help the situation. So it's the longer this waits, if one of those franchise tags gets rescinded, it's going to even further dilute this market, and it ain't going to help Dalvin Cook a lick more. And right now you're getting into posturing. I was told on Friday, I told y'all, EM Dolphin fan, verify this, I was told we came in low. Right? We heard numbers getting floated around that I said there's no way he's playing for that. And I went on record on the Patreon video and yesterday and Sunday, I believe, with all of y'all when I updated the Dalvin Cook stuff. And I said there's no way he's playing for under $5 million. Report comes out yesterday from all the big boys in the media. Dalvin Cook ain't playing for less than $5 million. What have I said? The sweet spot is at $7 million range, give or take $1 million, down to $6 million, up to $8 million. That's the range. That's where you got to fall in. And I've told you guys privately, I threw that number out to someone in the situation and they jumped at it. So we'll see how this all plays out. But right now the market ain't in his favor. So we're going to get into it here because he went on the Rich Eisen show. Now, we're going to go over an article that covers all that. And then I am going to play a clip from that Rich Eisen show because Tom Pelissero is hosting Rich Eisen right now. So, let's get into the Dalvin Cook stuff. And let's start off with a good article from friend of the show, Daniel Oifusi, and one of the best to ever do it in South Florida. I say it all the time, Barry Jackson. Let's get into it. So, running back Dalvin Cook, who was released by the Minnesota Vikings on Friday, said during a national interview Tuesday that he will be patient before picking a new team. Cook, 27, has interest in playing for the Dolphins, according to a source with direct knowledge. The Dolphins have shown interest in Cook several times this offseason, so there you go. Several times, it's plural, right? They're still interested. It's gone farther than the trade attempt that didn't work out. But the Dolphins are not believed to be offering what Cook seeks financially, which we already all knew. And Barry Jackson confirms. Barry Jackson is the confirm, right? He confirms the kill. A contract not dramatically different from $10.4 million he was due to make in Minnesota this season. The Vikings, in releasing him, must pay him only $2 million of that $10.4. Asked by NFL Network's Tom Pelissero what he's looking for in a new team, Cook said, "I want the value. I want somebody who wants Dalvin Cook," and he knows we want him. So I do think that is an underlying message to the Miami Dolphins. He knows we want him. He said he prefers to go to a team that will give him the ball a lot. This is why that's a good. I've been told privately, and I will repeat it again, Mike McDaniel is advocating pretty strongly for Dalvin Cook, and he was the advocate for him when they tried to trade for him. That Devin A-Chain has not changed that. Mike McDaniel and the staff is aware that Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson, especially later on in the season, you don't know if you can depend on them, injury alone. Now, Dalvin Cook is more of a home run hitter, a more complete back. He's still advocating for him, all right? The running, and look at what they bring up. What we talked about yesterday. The running back market is suppressed, and that seems to be affecting what teams are willing to pay for Cook, who has 4 consecutive 1,000-yard rushing seasons and 4 consecutive Pro Bowl appearances. Running back Saquon Barkley is skipping the Giants' mandatory minicamp and so far hasn't signed his $10.1 million franchise tag. According to ESPN, Barkley turned down a deal from the Giants that would have been worth close to $14 million per year. Josh Jacobs, the NFL's leading rusher last season, has also declined to sign his franchise tag and cryptically tweeted, "We gotta do it for the ones after us." And what did I say yesterday? They're probably seeing these defensive tackles get paid this crazy money, this market blowing up, and these guys can't get more than 6. Like Barkley, he appears to be seeking a more lucrative deal. Either team could rescind their franchise tag offers to Barkley and Jacobs and attempt to sign Cook, though that seems unlikely in the Giants' case. Notice how they didn't say the Raiders. Cook said the state of the running back market is sad, and he wishes that teams valued the position more. Meanwhile, Cook said his surgically repaired shoulder is feeling great. When he had the shoulder procedure in February, the Vikings said it was for an injury sustained over the past few seasons, and that he is expected to make a full recovery prior to the start of the regular season. Asked by Pelissero what a team signing him would get, Cook said, "I'm the best leader you can get. I'm going to show you that by my actions and how I carry myself and the things I do on the field. You put the tape on, that speaks for itself. But I think mostly, and what's most important for me, is some of the off-the-field stuff. Being the right figure in the community, just doing all the right stuff on the field and off the field. On the field, it's going to come. I just want to be the best teammate I can be, and you know what you're going to get out of Dalvin Cook once I step in that locker room." Cook grew up in Miami and attended Miami Central High, averaged 4.4 yards per carry last season and 4.7 throughout his career. So we're going to talk about that. Give me a sec. Let's finish this and we'll talk about all this. Dolphins coach Mike McDaniel, asked on Part of My Take to explain why Tua Tagovailoa is criticized more than the average quarterback, said, "There are a couple of things going on. I've wondered the same thing in terms of the polarization. We've talked about it all the time on this channel. A lot of people have strong opinions either way. The starting point is he's different. Different makes people uncomfortable. If you haven't noticed, he throws with his left hand, not right, which is crazy because he's right-handed. He learned how to throw left on instruction from his father." McDaniel's second theory for the criticism of Tua: throughout the history of time, people have shunned others when they can't pronounce their last name, which it has a lot of vowels. Also, there's a lot of conviction. When there's a lot of conviction with people and they're over the top about it, people tend to speak up on the negative. And once you dig your heels in 3 years down the road, you have voodoo dolls of Tua because he's the bane of your existence because you said you didn't like him one time, and you're tripling down. I feel about the guy. Oh, I feel great about the guy. Oh, my God, we're going to talk about that too. The Dolphins continue to give Austin Jackson every chance to win the right tackle job. Been awesome to work with. He really has, said Butch Barry. He's been very intentional in doing everything that we try to do. He's taken the approach, the process, the standard that we're trying to go about it. He's embraced it. And look, it's not going to be perfect. No player plays a perfect game. No player has a perfect practice. But he has intentionality in everything he's trying to do, and he comes with an emphasis every day. Every day he has an emphasis on what he wants to get better at. And as a coach, that's all you can ever ask for. So, first of all, Mike McDaniel look at this. I want to read this one more time. This and that. Mike McDaniel, look at this right here. This little spot right here. Right here, where are we? And once you dig your heels in 3 years down the road, you have voodoo dolls of Tua because he's the bane of your existence, because you said you didn't like him one time, and you're tripling down. I feel great about the guy. I could name like a dozen people he's calling out with that one. Woo-wee! I love it. I love it. Call him out. Call him out, Mike. Get him. Get him. Tripling down because they were wrong. Because they didn't like him initially. I love it. I love it. Okay, now Dalvin Cook. You know, I'm talking about a team that wants him, how good of a community figure he is. I'm telling you, man, he's posturing. Listen, he wants to come here, but he's posturing because this market is just not saying to him $10.4 million. $10 million. Look at Barkley and... You know, Barkley, that $14 million a year is off the table. Yeah, I know, Anthony, really, eh? Clumpty Dumpty fits under that one, too. You know, you look at this right now. Over 450 of you watching, though. Please smash that like button, subscribe if you're new. You look at it, Dalvin Cook is just, there you go. Like, he's posturing right now through the media, and the market's not speaking to him because it's not speaking to everyone else either. Now, he will get more than Zeke. He will get more than Leonard Fournette. He will get more than Kareem Hunt. Yes. But the days of 10 points, especially right now, like we went over, listen, on Sunday, we went over all the cap space that teams ahead of us. That's why I asked, are the Jets the biggest threat? Because ahead of us, what teams that look like they're going to make a playoff push and need a running back have the cap space right now? Everyone has less cap space than us. The only team that feels like they might be close to making a playoff run are the Jets because they got Aaron Rodgers, and they only need it if they don't think Breece Hall is going to fit. And I said they're probably going to sit on their hands because they'll wait till training camp to see if Breece Hall is going to be ready for the regular season. So they're not going to be in a rush. So, and then like I said, if any of those franchise tags get rescinded and Saquon or Josh hits the market, man, Josh Jacobs hits the market, it's going to get even worse. It's going to get even worse for him. It's going to get even worse. Now, in terms of Cam Smith and his contract, as I see the question in the comment, that's just usually language right now. That's all just about language. That's all that is. I'm not worried about Cam Smith. That'll get you know, you've only got about a certain amount of money that you can make at the pick he's at. That's just going to be about language in the contract. So I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about Cam Smith. All right. All right, now let's play this. So, on that same show, the Rich Eisen show, Ian Rapoport was on after Dalvin Cook. And this is what they discuss. And watch this. Because remember, Ian Rapoport, NFL guy, he's speaking from the market standpoint when he speaks, because he gives you a number of what he thinks it's going to be around for Dalvin Cook, and lo and behold, reason's right again.
Well, let's talk about Dalvin, because we talked about his shoulders healed up now. He had the surgery. He's feeling a lot better. His doctor, he said, has pretty much cut him loose to do everything. He said he's been getting blown up by everyone in the NFL.
Which is
Did not want to name names, said we're going to keep them all anonymous based on what you know. Ian Rapoport. Where do we stand on one of the highest profile players to be released in recent years in his free agent journey?
This is a weird one because he is a great player. And he really is an awesome player. And I would just say, not that my opinion matters at all, but has long been one of my favorite players to watch, just because
that's nice.
Any play could be a touchdown. Like, you just never know.
Sure.
He is explosive in a way that is kind of rare and most running backs aren't. So he is very fun to watch.
Yeah.
Even though he is very coveted, I am still not sure the money is going to be outrageous because running backs make what they make. I mean, Miles Sanders, I think I'm right about this. Miles Sanders was the highest paid running back in free agency this year and got $6 million a year, and I thought that was a really, really good deal. So my guess is Dalvin gets somewhere around there. Anything more is a great job. I would also imagine, there's a couple teams that probably right now are like, hey, could I use a really good running back? Miami, Denver, some other. And then after those, I would say look at the really good teams who might be one piece away, who might be,
and
maybe
they don't
they're
have
not
the money
at the top of the market, but any of the 10 teams who you think are going to make the playoffs all could probably use him.
All right, and they don't have the money. Unless you think the Jets are going to make the playoffs, the Jets and us have the most money out of all the teams you think that are going to need the playoffs that need a running back. The Bengals have more money than us. They don't need a running back. They have Joe Mixon, right? The Cowboys just gave $10 million to Tony Pollard. They're not going to give another $10-ish million to this guy. They cut Zeke because they didn't want to allocate all that money. See where I'm going here? Then when you get the Chiefs with Isaiah Pacheco and stuff, they got like $500,000 in cap space, and everyone else is underneath us in terms of money. Right? Unless maybe it falls through with D-Hop and the Patriots think they can make the playoffs, but why would he go to New England? They're not going to contend. He knows they're not going to win in the AFC East. There's 3 teams better than them right now. So there's like the playoff teams with money are basically us and the Jets that could add him to the backfield. The Bengals aren't going to add him. They got Joe Mixon. And the only reason the Jets are going to add him is if they don't think Breece Hall will be ready to go. And why are we going to add him? Because besides A-Chain, we got no one that we know we can rely on in that backfield in December and January. And don't talk about to me about what Mostert did in 2019. That was 4 years ago. Right now, we've got no one proven in that backfield we can rely on in December and January. And Dalvin Cook gives us the best shot out of all of them. So, but again, what did Rapoport say? $6 million. He expected him to come in that $6 million range. What have I said? $7 million, give or take $1 million. So 6 to 8. There you go. Basically telling us, and I think we can make that happen. Listen, if you're at $4.5, $5 million right now, and the difference is, I've said you could probably get him at 6.5, 7. If $1.5 million is a difference, get it done. Get it done. 1-year deal, so he doesn't affect long-term money, and then you can reevaluate it. And if you can make it work, I mean, we're not going to get into it on this show, but there's some names you can cut, and you can put us over $30 million over the cap in no problem. Really easy. There's like 7 names. And if you like what he contributes and you like him in A-Chain for 1 more year before you fully give the backfield to A-Chain in year 3, keep Dalvin around for year 2 if it makes sense. Have him as a mercenary on 1-year contracts. But for right now, for this year, you're throwing everything in the kitchen sink. Make it happen. If Ian Rapoport believes he's going to get around $6 million, that is what he's speaking for the market right now. And it makes sense with Dalvin Cook posturing and saying all these teams are calling him and blah, 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 blah. It's because the money ain't there. It's not as lucrative. The grass isn't always greener on the other side financially. And that's the reality of the situation right now. So, hey, an injury could happen. A team could pop up. I don't know. But right now, the market is not in Dalvin Cook's favor. Right now, the market is in the favor of the Miami Dolphins. That's just where we're at right now. All right, continuing on here. Speaking of money and extensions and contracts, oh my. Christian Wilkins not using the contract for motivation. Miami Dolphins defensive tackle Christian Wilkins doesn't need any extra motivation. Wilkins enters the final year of his rookie deal in 2023 and interest from both sides in a contract extension. Spring practices came and went without agreement, but Wilkins was present and effective each day, even earning the Dolphins' coveted orange jersey during mandatory minicamp on June 7th as the day's practice MVP. Even as defensive tackles throughout the league have signed extensions, Jeffrey Simmons, Ed Oliver, Dexter Lawrence, Wilkins said he will let his agent handle the discussions. The deals he has seen throughout the league have actually left him more optimistic about the future. He said he was excited about Lawrence. That's his fat little brother. So excited about him. It was good to see his growth of the game and clearly how much D-line play, especially interior, means to teams. It's good for the game. It's good for the guys that come after us. He said, I'm a big believer in doing right by the game, doing things right and paying it forward for those guys coming after you, regardless whether it's $1, whether it's just doing things the right way, someone they can look up to. I'm just big on respecting the game. It's cool to see. Miami took Wilkins 13th overall in the 2019 draft and has played 64 of 66 games since. While he hasn't been known as a high sack player, Wilkins has impacted the game heavily in other areas. He set an NFL single-season record for tackles by defensive linemen last season with 98, including 16 of those for a loss. He also batted 6 passes down at the line of scrimmage and forced 2 fumbles. The Dolphins captain and NFL player representative hasn't allowed his contract situation to distract him on the field, continuing to be a source of energy for his teammates. Christian is the same guy every day. He's going to come with energy, yelling all the time, and just enjoying life, Jaelan Phillips said. I think it shows on the field because the passion he plays with and the energy that he has is super contagious. I think he's a great leader for this team. He brings guys up with him, and man, you see him on the field, that dude is different. Just break down his tape. He's different. Christian is a baller. In March, Dolphins general manager Chris Grier said the team wants Wilkins in South Florida for the foreseeable future. If the two sides manage to come to an agreement, Wilkins would be the team's first-round pick, the first-round pick to sign an extension since Grier took over as GM in 2016. Wow, see, what do I tell about him not getting ahead? Doesn't that put it into it? If the two sides manage to come to an agreement, Wilkins would be the team's first-round pick to sign an extension since Grier took over as a GM in 2016. Oh, my Lord. For the past year, as the subject of his contract has come up, Wilkins consistently has remained focused on the things he can control, his availability and his effort. He doesn't plan on that changing, even if there's no deal in place by the time season begins in September. I'm always motivated. Motivation comes from within, not a dollar amount. But it's just my drive to be the best and be my best. No dollar changes that. Changes my mind state. Whether something gets done or not, my approach is always the same. I mean, you got to applaud the guy for having that mindset. I mean, you can look at a couple other guys where money's motivating them throughout the league right now, right? We went over a couple of running backs. Connor Williams is motivated right now about the almighty dollar. Zach Sealer is motivated by the dollar, but he's doing it more of a classy way. He still showed up to mandatory minicamp. He just didn't take part, but he's motivated by the dollar right now. And this all comes down to Tua Tagovailoa. And I hate to make it about Tua, but this is guys wanting to get paid before the quarterback does. But Wilkins is, you got to respect the approach. He's motivated to be the best. And I think that you got to get the deal done, because if you don't, if he's motivated to be that good, I see an uptick in his sack production coming this year. That sounds like a guy who's quietly motivated by the money, but he's more motivated by his legacy and how people remember him. And if you're motivated by those two things, that's a dangerous combination for Chris Grier and Brandon Shore and any contract they've got on the table right now. You've got to get that done. You've got to get him locked up. It's just a necessity. And, I know I've caught flack in the comments before, but look at that. I've told all of y'all about how Chris Grier never gets out in front of extensions. And since he took over in 2016, 7 years now, this would be the first-round pick under Chris Grier to sign an extension. See, the problem with Aaron Berg, if you let him play out the season, those sacks numbers go up. What's the market next year? If it's $22.5 million top end this year, what are we talking about? Over 25 next year? Because then he's going to want to reset the whole market. You can't play that. That's a game of financial Russian roulette right there. That is a game of financial Russian roulette. Because if those sack numbers go up, he's going to price his way out of Miami. I'm going to tell you that right now. because they ain't gonna pay no $25+ million, and he'll be looking to reset. Listen, I'm gonna tell you this right now, and I want people to listen to me closely. He's Daddy Dean. He's about to play on the franchise tag this year. That's what people don't understand. This is a franchise tag year right now we're heading into. I am going to tell you right now, if you do not get this done before the season, if you do not get this before or during the season, this is a wrap. He's not going to be a Miami Dolphin. He is going to price himself. If this gets to after the season and there's no deal in place, say your goodbyes, say your whatever language, sayonara, adios, whatever you want to say it in, say it. Because he's gone. And I think you got to get this locked up before the season starts. Because they just might say, listen, we will play the season on that 10.1 franchise tag. And then we gave you good faith. You've had 4 years and an off season heading in the 5th to get this done. You didn't. Me and others I can name, Ball Game EM, were screaming, get this done last offseason when the market was 14 to 16 million. And look at the hike already. Top end is already a $7 million hike on the top end of last year. Got to get this done, man. If you do not get this done heading into the season, that is not a good situation. And love Christian Wilkins, and I know he will not make a big stink out of it, and he will not be a distraction, but that is disrespectful. He should know before the season starts whether his future is in Miami or not. He at least deserves that much. So, they got to get it figured out. And listen, I've said, I don't agree with paying him over $22 million a year. I've told you guys my numbers. Right? 4 years, $80 million, 60 of that guaranteed. Boom. That's where I'm in and around. We could go up a little from there, but that, maybe 84 million, so you get 21 a year, but I'm still keeping that guaranteed at 60. That ain't moving. We'll see. We will see. Now, if it's about he wants the 80 million, but he wants the guaranteed money, all right, 64 million a year, right? 16 million a year guaranteed. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it works out, but 22.5 million or more than that. I thought Ed Oliver's contract was very respectable compared to some of these ludicrous contracts out there right now. But hey, I'm not going to sit here and pocket watch another man's money. He earned that. He earned whatever he gets. So I'm not going to sit here and pocket watch that. All right. So, good article here from Omar Kelly on 10 things we learned from the offseason program of the Miami Dolphins. The offseason is a time for experimentation and discovery, and the Miami Dolphins did plenty of that this summer. A new defensive scheme was installed. A new offensive line coach took over the team's most troublesome unit, and the Dolphins received an infusion of newcomers, many of whom are projected as possible starters. Here is what we learned from the OTA and minicamp sessions the media attended. Number 1, Tua is not a fan of the helmet cam. The Dolphins began utilizing a helmet cam they placed on each quarterback's helmet to assess various things on playback. While the camera has its benefits, like informing coaches where quarterbacks' eyes go on particular plays and helping skill position players master the play call, Tagovailoa explained that it's intrusive and violates the sanctity of the huddle. A day after he expressed concern to the media about wearing the camera, Tagovailoa was wearing an old-school Polaroid camera, either as a joke or some kind of message. There is a battle brewing at quarterback. Mike White might be the second highest paid quarterback on the Dolphins roster, but that doesn't guarantee he'll serve as Tagovailoa's backup. The consensus of many of the media members who watched the offseason program concluded that Skylar Thompson, the 2022 7th-round pick, outperformed White, whose arm strength was a tad disappointing. In fairness to White, Thompson has a better grasp of the offense and more familiarity with returning players. Expect this battle to carry on throughout the training camp until someone stiff arms the competition. Troublesome depth on defense. New defensive coordinator Vic Fangio used minicamp day. The Dolphins defensive dominated the offense to express concern about the team's lack of depth on defense. Fangio seemingly complaining about the lack of veteran presence on the defensive line. Raekwon Davis doesn't have a backup. The lack of depth at linebacker, David Long and Channing Tindall missed all of minicamp to nursing injuries, and safety, which featured Javon Holland teaming with a steady diet of journeymen and special teamers in the back end of the secondary daily because of injuries. Nick Needham, Brandon Jones, Deshaun Elliott, and Trill Williams are still nursing. Don't be surprised when Miami signs a couple more veteran defenders the week before training camp opens. Chosen still has speed. Robbie Chosen signed with Miami following his most disappointing NFL season because he saw the Dolphins as a perfect situation to redeem his name and prove he still got it. Chosen got off to a great start during the offseason program, serving as one of the top playmakers while Tyreek Hill sat out all of the teamwork as part of the maintenance program. Anderson, who is 6'3", 190 pounds, hasn't lost one step based on the deep passes we witnessed him catching, but he could become the receiver the Dolphins need to high point the ball in the red zone. There's a dash for the cash. The Dolphins are presently living off credit, trading for big-ticket items like Bradley Chubb and Jaelan Ramsey and intending to pay for them later. The way the roster is structured, there's $187 million cap space accounted for in 2024, which isn't a healthy place to be with 29 impending free agents. Miami has roughly $12 million in cap space because of the release of Byron Jones, and most of the impending free agents are jockeying to get an extension. Dolphins have also expressed interest in signing Pro Bowl tailback Dalvin Cook, but that would leave even less money to get extensions done with impending free agents like Christian Wilkins, Connor Williams, Robert Hunt, Raekwon Davis, and Zach Sealer. Remember, Christian Wilkins would free up money. I don't know what he's talking about. Free up about $7.5 million. Players know they better get their deal done now before Tagovailoa gets his and eats up 15 to 20% of the team's salary. Eichenberg might have a future at center. Sometimes desperation provides the greatest discoveries. With Connor Williams skipping minicamp as he and his camp pushed for a contract extension, Liam Eichenberg was given the opportunity to fill in at center, and it was surprising how well he did. His snaps were far ahead of Williams at this exact stage last year in this transition from guard to center, and his blocking provided the offensive line a decent amount of surge at the line of scrimmage. It'll be interesting to see if this experiment carries on during training camp and potentially opens the door for Isaiah Wynn to start at left guard, which we can confirm is where he has been training, right? So, rookies face a tough transition. Every member of last year's rookie class confessed about how difficult it was to learn Miami's playbook. Audibles and just to the NFL. Based on their struggles, it's safe to assume the 2023 draft class might be facing a similar redshirt year. Could be too early to determine this right now, but the Dolphins fans might have to be patient with cornerback Cam Smith, Devon Achane, Elijah Higgins, and Ryan Hayes' development. McDaniel pledges to run more, and hey, Dalvin Cook said he wants to go to a place that runs a lot. Only one team attempted fewer runs than the Dolphins last season, which was Tampa, and McDaniel has vowed to change that, ditching his pass-obsessed play calling and returning to his background as a run game specialist. He hired Butch Barry, who was one of the understudies of the offensive line coach, who taught him the intricacies of the run game. All of this is good to say in theory, but it'll be interesting to see if the O-line can consistently create run game surges when the pads come on, and if McDaniel actually will call run plays when the heat gets turned up in real games. Miami re-signed all of the team's tailbacks from last season to foster continuity. Will it produce better yards per carry average and more offensive balance? Tight end remains an issue. Remember, I asked if we have one of the weakest tight end groups, and here you go. Miami allowed Gesicki to leave as a free agent, pushing him in New England's arms because he was too one-dimensional as a tight end. Gesicki's lackluster blocking telegraphed the intent of the play when he was on the field. The Dolphins envision having their tight ends primarily serve as blocking instruments who happen to catch passes. Durham Smythe fills that role, but what happens when Miami is trailing by 10 midway through the fourth quarter and must utilize a hurry-up offense? Or when the Dolphins are in the red zone and want to throw a jump ball to someone? The Dolphins need to see if Eric Sauber, Tyler Kroft, Tanner Connor, or Elijah Higgins can become that weapon. Their lack of impact during minicamp raises some doubt. And then finally, Austin Jackson looks slim and trim. And shout out to Dean Hand for joining the Pro Bowl. Thank you, sir, for joining the Pro Bowl. I appreciate you. Welcome. And enjoy the many different perks that come with it. So, Austin Jackson looks slim and trim. Jackson openly admits that he's on a crusade to silence all his doubters and proves he's a better offensive lineman than he's shown the past 3 seasons. The projected starting right tackle is in the best shape of his life and had a solid offseason showing, not missing a single day while back from reconstructive ankle surgery. The hope is that when the pads come on, the 2020 first-round pick will become a reliable building block for Miami's troublesome offensive line. If not, the Dolphins will likely turn to Aboyi, Isaiah Wynn, Jerron Christensen, or Kendall Lamb to serve as his replacement. So a couple things a lot of that stuff we had already talked about, right? Tight end is something we had talked about multiple times on this channel. And, obviously Eichenberg and his transition and people highlighting his transition lately has been a topic on this channel. That's how we figured out, hey, Isaiah Wynn's been on left guard, and then we got our confirmation. And, the dash, everyone realizes that Tua money's on the horizon. And I've said this. You need depth right now at interior linebacker, defensive tackle, and tight end heading into this year. And, all three of those were mentioned in that article. So, we're not crazy on this side. Over 480 of you in the room. Please do me the favor. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you are new. Bleacher Report. They ranked the NFL's best pass rushing duos ahead of the 2023 season. NFL defensive coordinators who plan to rattle the best quarterbacks can do so with a top-tier playmaker. To counter, offensive coordinators can neutralize a dominant defender with extra protection at the line of scrimmage, but a pass rushing duo can present nightmarish issues on the trenches. Oftentimes, we focus on edge rushers as primary sources of sacks and quarterback pressures, but an increasing number of interior defenders have made a strong impression on passing downs. While ranking the league's top 5 passing rush tandems, we included defensive tackles. Across the board, the premier duets have a high number of combined sacks and pressures in recent seasons, Pro Bowl and All-Pro accolades, and one pair has unique synergy accumulated throughout the years as teammates. We've also factored in projections for the 2023 season. So, honorable mentions. They got Jaelan, Phillips, and Bradley Chubb under honorable mentions. Didn't even make the top 5. They said the Miami Dolphins acquired Chubb from the Denver Broncos before the 2022 trade deadline. He saw a slight downtick in defensive snaps in the move from Denver to Miami, but under incoming defensive coordinator Vic Fangio, the 2-time Pro Bowler should pick up steam along Phillips, who recorded 15.5 sacks and 62 pressures in 2 seasons. So ahead of us, Harold Landry and Jeffrey Simmons, Matt Judon and Josh Uche. So we made the 3 honorable mentions. Our top 5 are Son Reddick and Josh Sweat, Nick Bosa and Hargrave, Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith, Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, and then TJ Watt and Cameron Hayward. Listen, I think this is kind of disrespectful. I mean, what did Khalil Mack and Nick Bosa do last year? They were both hurt. There's much of a projection. You at least saw Chubb and Phillips. You saw their pass rush win rate. Both of them were in the top 10 in pass rush win rate. But the problem was Boyer didn't know how to utilize them as pass rushers. That's why they didn't gobble up the numbers. We were gimmicky blitzers. Now, under Fangio, I would be projecting them to be a top 5 duo. In fact, I'll go even further. They're going to be a top 3. TJ Watt, Cameron Hayward, yeah, I can see them in there with them. But I just don't, even Nick Bosa and Javon Hargrave. Hargrave hasn't played a snap in San Fran yet. Nick Bosa, he's a beast. He is a beast. He had 18.5 sacks last season. So, okay. But I think we're right there with Nick Bosa and Hargrave and TJ Watt and Cameron Hayward. Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. I mean, Nick Bosa and Javon Hargrave are more proven than them. What did they do last year? I think Matt Judon and Josh Uche are more proven. Anyways, the disrespect to our pass rushing duo. Unbelievable. And finally, guys, remember, Tua doesn't throw deep. Oh, he never throws deep. He's got to know. Well, why were we number 4 in 2022 in deepest targets to wide receivers on early downs? We've gone over and over again how Tua was the number 2 rated deep passer to only Geno Smith last year. Let's break it down to on early downs. So first and second downs, the Miami Dolphins were number 4 in deepest targets to wide receiver on early downs on first and second down. But Tua don't push the ball deep, right? Tua can't throw deep, right? So why are we top 5? Someone explain that to me. Man, we just kill narratives on this channel over and over again, huh? Unbelievable. I don't understand, even more even more evidence showing how good Tua is and how willing he is to throw the ball deep. There it is again, right in front of your eyes. Right in front of your eyes. So, hey, I don't know. All I know is our quarterback throws deeper a lot more often than they want to give him credit for. All right? Now, shout out to the Buffalo Bills for falling apart right now. It's a beautiful thing. I love it. I love every minute of it. It's absolutely amazing to watch. You know, this just does not look like this is going to carry over into something positive for the season for the Buffalo Bills, and it'll be more positive for the Miami Dolphins. And you hate to see it if you're a Bills fan. You love to see it if you're a Dolphin fan. All right, guys. I'm gonna be live tomorrow night with Richmond and ball game, so be on the lookout for that. Programming note: Fin Too Deep is going to be moved to Sunday, so we'll be live in the day on Sunday. Me and Neil, be out on the lookout for that. And then I will be live by myself, or have something else lined up in between, the Thursday, Friday to Saturday. So expect me in that range as well. So I'll be live tomorrow. Usual time. We're back to the usual time because sadly, your guys' Miami Heat, they took the L yesterday. It was a tough one. It was a close one at the end. Jokic is he's too good right now. He's just too good. And now I know you guys got about an hour till puck drop, and the Panthers are in the exact same situation. I'm going to say this. If the Vegas Knights win, it's either going to be Hill or Marchessault for that Conn Smythe. So, hey, hopefully they live to see another day for you guys tonight. But again, I'll be back tomorrow night. Beyond that, I'll be back either Thursday or Friday, and then we'll be back on Sunday for Fin Too Deep. That's when it'll be pushed to. So I just wanted to keep all y'all updated for that. And hey, until the next one, you already know what time it is, baby. I thank all of y'all for joining me. I love all y'all for joining me on this Tuesday night. Go have a good night. I appreciate all y'all, and you already know what time it is. Fins up. All day, every day, even beyond the grave in which we'll lay. I will see all of y'all on the next one. Have a fantastic evening, everyone. Go Panthers. Let's make a series out of it, huh? Have a good night, guys.